morning, everyone. And if you were here for the last panel, welcome back again. And I just have to say, that was pretty amazing. I am already dreaming of my next vacation, ideally somewhere with turquoise waters, zero Wi-Fi, maybe kids not asking me for snacks every 5 seconds. But before we all, start booking our next trip, I think let's maybe start talking about how to pay for our trips in a smarter way. So today, we're here to really talk about credit card points because there's a fun fact. Half of all travelers choose their destination based on where their credit card points can take them. So that's kind of sad, and I am here with an expert. But if we let our credit card points be our travel agent, and I know they don't really expect a tip, that's not really going to let us to the best vacation. So today we're going to dive into the world of credit card points, how to earn them, how to use them, and how not to leave them on the table like that last sad piece of toast at brunch. I'm Patrice Bening, Wealth Advisor and Partner here at Morton, and I'm joined by actually a dear friend of mine, Greg Eisenman, and he's truly the expert of credit card points. Greg, would you like to really introduce yourself and maybe even tell us how you became the master of the credit card points game?
I would love to. It's my favorite subject to talk about. So my name is Greg Eisenman. First of all, thank you for having me here today and for everybody here that's attending. I actually work for Gallagher. I'm an insurance broker, and by day I help employers design benefit packages to attract and retain employees. But it's really, if I'm honest, credit card points are my true passion. And I talk about it all the time to anybody who will listen. My wife gets a little bit annoyed about that, but she's really the reason I got into it. So I like to travel. I've traveled all over the world. I'm also kind of cheap. I don't like to pay for things. And we were getting married. We were starting our wedding planning. I was looking at everything it was going to cost. We were paying for most of it ourselves. And we were looking at planning our honeymoon. And I quickly realized we had very different ideas of what our honeymoon was going to look like. She wanted to stay at the Four Seasons. I grew up staying at the Days Inn, so a Marriott to me is like a palace. And I started realizing that I couldn't afford this kind of vacation that she wanted to go on. And that's when I started taking this deep dive into the internet and learning how to earn credit card points, which started with paying for our wedding on all of these credit cards.
Well, first of all, Shadi and I think align on how we like to find things, but the financial planner and me align with your values on how we can be smarter about that.
Yeah, the goal really is to maximize your life using these points and save your money for other things. That's really why I got into it and why I want to travel a lot. But when you're trying to save for college, save for a house, save for retirement, you got to pick and choose sometimes what you spend. These credit card points can really make your life easier in that way.
Very good. By the way, do we have the clicker? Do you have the clicker? Okay, great. So maybe this is actually a good time. I would like to poll the audience, my second English is my second language. Poll the audience to find out who picks their travel destination based on their credit card points. Just raise your hand. All right. So based on that, I think we probably know how to use credit card points, but I don't think we know how to maximize them. So where do we fall short? Is it maybe the cards that we use? Is it our redemption timing? I mean, what's the best way to do that?
Well, it could be all of the above. So first of all, everybody's really big on brand loyalty. I don't care about brand loyalty. That's kind of number one, because when you are beholden to one carrier, airline carrier, one hotel brand, if you're earning points on those credit cards, your points are stuck with them. If you're earning points with Delta and you want to go somewhere and there's no Delta flight available or there's no Delta flight available for points, you're stuck. So I encourage everybody first and foremost to be a free agent. I personally prefer Chase and American Express cards. There's also Citibank cards, Capital One cards. Personally, I think the Chase and the American Express ones have the most earning potential and the most value when you go to redeem them. That's earning. And number two, part of that is when you have the cards, you don't need a million cards, you only need a few, and you just have to make sure you're using the right card for the right purchases to maximize your points. Sometimes you got to get creative. People don't realize I literally charge everything that I do. Taxes, tuition. The only things I have not figured out how to charge are my mortgage and my car payments. If I could, I would, but I haven't figured it out just yet. And then when you go to use them, most people make the mistake of using them in the Chase or American Express travel portal. That's actually the worst value you can get for your points. Each one of those carriers or credit card companies Same with Capital One, same with Citibank have travel partners. What you want to do is find the best deal with a particular hotel or airline that you want to travel on, and then transfer from Chase or American Express. But again, you can then, if there's no Delta flight and there's a United flight, you can transfer to United instead. Your points aren't stuck with this one particular airline or hotel chain.
When we were prepping for this session, I think I was really, kind of it shocked me of the amount of things that I thought I was doing well as far as maximizing points, and just simple things like my auto premiums were automatically debited from my checking account, and I realized that I could actually put them on my credit card.
Yes.
And then,
I got a call from somebody the other day, and he called me and said, "Do you really pay tuition on your credit card?" And I said, "Absolutely." He's like, "Because I'm about to do it, and I'm nervous about it." And I said, "Well, what's the other option? You're going to write a check? You're going to put it on your debit card?" He said, "Yes." I'm like, "Okay, then you charge it, and then 3 days later, you pay it off. You really have nothing lost, but you just got God knows how many points." And I want to ask how much his tuition was, but he got those points. And that's really the idea, is that if you're going to, I'm not telling anybody here to go into credit card debt, but if you're going to spend money anyway, you might as well get something out of it. And it's not that hard to strategize. And one of the slides in here we can talk about is, actually I'll slide forward because I think it's helpful, and I'll come back, is, according to it's right here, Bureau of Labor Statistics, right? People spend in Los Angeles, I'd argue it's higher, about 3% of their income on restaurants. And then they spend, get the number here, a certain amount of money per family on groceries. And if you're using a debit card or using a bank card that gets no points, you're literally getting nothing for it. And if you're using the right cards, in this example here, keeps jumping forward, for a family of 4, if you have a household income of $400,000, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, you're spending $12,000 at restaurants, $15,000 on groceries. If you use a debit card, you get nothing. If you use a card that's getting 1 times points, like the Amex Platinum, which we'll talk about, which everybody has, and I'm not a huge fan of, you get about 27,000 points. But if you use the right Chase or Amex cards, you can earn between 60 or 120,000 points, which is enough for 2 hotel nights at a Park Hyatt. It's enough for me. I got 4 flights to Europe for 120,000 points. There's so much more you can do with that, and this is money you're already spending. It has nothing to do with going into debt or trying to spend more money than you need. This is the money you're already spending, just getting it in the right place.
Well, it's interesting because as an advisor and financial planner, I often talk to clients about aligning their spending with their values and long-term goals. But what makes me really happy is when we plan for that fun bucket, and we'll say, all right, let's dream. Let's say every year we're going to spend $15,000 or $20,000, and you're going to do something really fun. You're going to go take your family on a nice trip, or you're going to go with your friends, or whatever that looks like.
Yep.
But I feel that maximizing credit card points adds a layer of creativity into financial planning. And even thinking, actually, even business owners, raise your hand if you're a business owner in this room. Oh yeah, we have a few.
Oh yeah.
But I actually, when we were talking about this, I almost started considering maybe doing a side hustle, hiring my 2 teenage boys as employees, getting them credit cards, but that's probably not okay. So
You can do that on a personal level. My son has a credit card.
well, yeah, they're signers on mine, but not signers, but authorized users. So yeah, can talk about a little about the layers and just the opportunities that business owners have when it comes to that.
Yeah, there's huge opportunities because you're paying for a million things, and you can actually, if you are the business owner, you can keep those points on a personal basis, and you can commingle your personal and business points. So number one, if you have employees, you can give them company cards, and the points come back to the company. They're your points. And then you can commingle them with your personal points. And then depending upon where you spend money in your business, you want to have the right card. And there is a slide in here on business cards right here. Now, business cards are a little bit trickier. One thing to talk about with the business cards, they have really high sign-up bonuses. Like right now, American Express Platinum is offering like 200,000 points on a sign-up bonus. That's enough for a pretty nice trip. But you want to look at where you can maximize based on the particular card, and you want to get the card that best fits your business. Like for example, if you're in construction, Amex Platinum is the only way to maximize. If you are doing online advertising, you want to look at the Inc. Business Preferred or the Chase Sapphire Reserve Business, because that's where you're going to get the most points. You got to look at where you spend your money, how you spend your money, and then just get the right cards to maximize that. That's step one.
So kind of you led me into this. Let's kind of address the elephant in the room. Mm-hmm. Premium cards.
Yep.
The ones that have eye-watering fees and they, weigh like a dime bill. Are they actually worth it, or are we just paying for airport snacks and, metal?
So most of them, I would argue, are worth it. I'm probably an outlier in that I don't think, and I would venture to guess, you don't need to raise your hand, that 80% of the people in this room have an American Express Platinum card. I don't think it's worth anything, because now that's a conversation of what I would call points versus perks. I look for credit cards to earn the most points that I can use for free travel, which is my goal. American Express Platinum is focused on perks. So like Aura Ring, Lululemon credits.
I think you have a slide on that.
Oh, I do actually. Yeah, sorry. So if we go here, you can see the annual fees at the top. But this is a grid that I actually made for my mother. She wanted to get in on this whole points thing that I was doing, and she couldn't remember what to use. So I made this grid for her. And basically anything that's highlighted in blue is where you're going to get the most value. She doesn't have all these cards, but this is really just like an overview of basically which card you should use based on what you're charging. And what you'll notice is that the Amex Platinum has the least amount of things in blue, because unless you're booking travel inside the American Express portal, you only get essentially 1 point for most things. And that's not a very good deal. Even on the Freedom Unlimited card, which is a free card, you get 1.5 points for anything that doesn't fit in the bonus category. That's actually the card I use the most. But when I get back to the original question of, on the Sapphire Reserve, it has a similar fee, but when you charge $300 in travel, they immediately credit you back $300, and there's very easily redeemable perks that within like a month or two, you can earn all your money back. The American Express Platinum, they're piecemealing it back and having vendors giving you money back, but you're not really earning any points. So for me, it's not worth it. I'm a big proponent of the Amex Gold, which is 4 times points on restaurants and groceries, and it's a hugely valuable card. Some people have both. I just don't think it's really worth the $900 a year you're paying for the card if you're looking for the points. If the perks are what you want, or you don't like to travel, then it might be a good fit for you.
I wish I had met you 15 years ago. So let's assume that I won the lottery of points, and I do have 1 million points.
Yep.
Such wishful thinking on my part here. Is there a redemption strategy? How do I go about that, really?
Well, so number one is you got to start early. You got to plan early. Redemptions, point redemptions are basically, there's a number of seats available, essentially, right, on a plane or at a hotel, and those disappear. The earlier you start, the better chance you have of getting the hotel you want, or the flight that you want, or the airline that you want, whatever it might be. So start planning early. I usually start, if it's a big trip, 6 to 12 months in advance.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the trip that you took this year.
So this is an example that I like to give here and all overall. So my family and I went to Europe for like 2+ weeks. And this is really where it comes in, because if you think about it, again, this is a trip that's about 2.5 weeks. The only thing that I couldn't put or pay for was points. So we went to the south of France and there just was not a hotel available, so we got an Airbnb. I did get points for that, but I didn't use points. But if you look at this here, if I had paid cash, the cash equivalent was close to about 24,000 points. I only used 540,000 points, and it cost me about $800 in fees. And so when you're using points, if you look in the column in the blue on the far right, the goal is to get a minimum of 2 cents for every point that you use. If you're getting less than 2 cents per point, it's really not a good use of your points. And that's what I was saying in the Chase and Amex portals, you're only getting 1 cent per point. So it's a bad use of points because you're losing. When I give this presentation to different places, I call it winning the points game, and it is a game. And I'm a competitive person, and I want to beat the credit card companies, and this is how you beat the credit card companies. And so if you look, we got 5 cents per point on our flights, 6.5 cents in London, 3 cents roughly in Amsterdam, and I got the minimum 2 cents in Paris, but I was okay with that. And overall, it's about 4.5 cents. If I had taken that in cash back, it only would have been $5,400, and I got almost $24,000 of value. And when you look at that $24,000, each person can use that money differently. You can take it and invest in your business. You can take it and put it towards your down payment on a house. For me, what I usually like to do is take a trip I never would take in a million years, because as I mentioned, I'm kind of a cheap person. So we went to Hawaii for a week on a family vacation. The whole thing was free, flights and hotels. We did a luau. We went on a jungle off-roading tour. We went scuba diving. I rented a sailboat. In the south of France, I chartered a boat. Things I never would have been able to do if I had paid $25,000 for both of those trips, really. So that's how I use it. You can use it any way you want, but as Patrice was talking about using as an investment strategy, that's $24,000 that I didn't spend that I can now put to work in a million different ways. It's really up to you how you want to do that. There are ways to do this. This was in June. I booked all of this in November. And honestly, I was a little late on that one because it took us a while to make a decision.
The other part that I think both of us, because we both have kids and we're both kind of subject to vacation schedules. So using points, it's a little bit more restricted because we can only go on vacation,
This
springtime, summertime. But some folks may have a little bit more flexibility. So maybe you can talk about that as well when it comes to redemption strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if you do have kids, you do have to start early for this reason, right? I can only travel during spring, summer, and winter break. That's kind of limited unless I'm going to go somewhere with my wife, perhaps, or we're going to pull our kids out of school, which we don't do very much. We can only travel when everyone else is traveling. The prices are the highest, the redemption values are the highest. It's the hardest time to find a good deal. If you don't have kids, or you're traveling without kids, or your kids are out of the house, you have a humongous advantage because you can travel during shoulder season or off season, and that's when you can fly first class. You see these deals sometimes online, or people advertise, I flew to Japan first class for 50,000 points. That's because they went in October when everybody else is stuck at home with their kids, and there's nobody taking that business class flight to Japan, so they can do it. You can go to Australia in October before the busy season in November and December, and there's still amazing weather. It's a huge advantage that you have because you're not beholden to any particular schedule, and you have that flexibility, which kind of leads into another point of you do have to be a little bit flexible. Sometimes you can't leave on the exact day that you want, and that's why I say start early. Plan your life around the trip. Don't plan your trip. Don't wait till the end and then plan your trip and try to cram it in whatever 5 days you have. That's when you end up wasting points. Because if you are flexible, sometimes leaving 2 days earlier can save you. I actually had a friend, he went to Paris with his wife. They wanted to leave on a particular date, go to 7 days. And I said, did you realize you're about to spend $1.5 million points on first class seats? If you leave 2 days earlier and stay 1 day longer, so you stay for 8 days and stay to 7, it's only 500,000 points. And he's like, well, how do you know that? I'm like, there's a calendar on the Air France website. It just shows it's literally 1 million points less if you leave 2 days earlier. And so you just have to be sometimes a little bit flexible. I'm personally fine with flying economy. I know not everybody is. I'm 6'2". If I can do it, you can do it. But I just want to get to the destination. I personally don't really care. I'd go on a boat or a bus if that's what got me there. I want to be, wherever I'm trying to get.
I like how you work. There's another part of points that I feel I am maybe a little, I don't know, I'm not really paying attention to it. Mm-hmm. So it's the amplifying part of it, what I think is when my credit card says, this particular month, if I go to particular places, then it's like 3 times the amount that I can get.
Right.
And I'm just like, I don't know, is it worth it? Do I activate? How do I work that?
Well, so that I would say is worth it. You also get emails from your credit card company saying, redeem for Apple gift cards or do this. Don't ever do that. That's the worst use possible of your points. But if they say, and they don't do this as much anymore. Chase used to say all the time, in July, you can go to Best Buy and you can get 8 times points. I'm like, well, what if I don't need anything at Best Buy? So actually what I used to do is I'd go to Best Buy and I'd look for things that I need anyway. So I actually went to Best Buy once and it was like 8 times points up to $1,000. And I bought $1,000 worth of Uber and Lyft and Chevron gift cards because I knew I was going to use those, but that way I got my 8 times points. So there are creative ways that you can do it just by buying the things that you're already using. The Freedom Flex, which was up there, that's a no-fee card that has different quarterly bonus categories. Usually once a year it's Amazon, and there's a $1,500 max. I just immediately buy a $1,500 Amazon gift card, get my 5 times points, and then I know we're going to blow through that in probably 3 or 4 months.
All right, and I know that. I mean, we all have credit cards here, so it's not like we have to start from the beginning. But
No.
if we were to kind of rebalance our points strategy,
Yep.
How do we do that?
So these are the 4 cards that I recommend. Now, again, you can have other cards. I also have some other cards, but I personally believe the Chase Sapphire Reserve is the most useful card you can have. These 2 Freedom cards from Chase are also, they're no-fee cards, but if you don't have one of the 2 Sapphire cards, they're cashback cards. When you get a Sapphire card, they become points, and you can share all those points. Also, you can get sign-up bonuses. You can get referral bonuses. You can even refer your own spouse and your own kids, and you each get sign-up bonuses. And you can commingle points with the spouse as well through Chase and Amex. You just have to call them to connect your 2 accounts. And then the Amex Gold is the one that's 4 times points on restaurants and groceries. And then both the Amex and the Chase Sapphire card have no foreign transaction fees. So when you do travel internationally, they're very powerful cards.
Well, thank you very much. This has been absolutely, I think, a masterclass in credit card points. And I think for me, what's exciting is that I think when you align your spending habits with your values, whether that's family, philanthropy, entrepreneurship, points become more than just rewards. They become a way to stretch your dollars and a way to create memories and support the life that you're intentionally building. Thank you, Greg, for your valuable insights. And thank you all for being here. And remember, if your card's going to charge you a fee, make sure you buy you dinner in Paris as well.
Absolutely.
Wow.